One fight that would have been an interest of mine, and I wish would have happened, was a fight between Amir Khan and Floyd Mayweather. Now, the reason why this fight didn't happen was I genuinely believe that there's a long story about it, but it's to do with a sponsorship deal that Amir Khan signed, which kind of shafted Floyd Mayweather. And basically what happened was Floyd Mayweather wanted to spite him by not giving him a fight. It's quite an in-depth story about what actually happens. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to talk about this fight if it was to happen. But truth be told, I think Mayweather put up a poll asking fans who they would want him to fight next, and the two aforementioned names that were mentioned were Marcos Maidana and obviously Amir Khan. Now, what actually happened was that Amir Khan actually won the poll, and despite that, Mayweather, just to shaft him, never gave him the fight. And I think till this day, Amir Khan is bitter about that situation. And to be fair, I don't blame him. I mean, if you want a poll, the integrity has to be there to some extent. I mean, if fans voted for you to fight one fighter and you fight the other one, I mean, what can we say? I mean, it's pretty bad situation. And Mayweather has this favourite quote that he likes to say. He says, "Oh, I love to do things for the fans, but when it comes to us wanting to see the fights that we want to see, all of a sudden he can't deliver. When it comes to us wanting to see the Mayweather vs Pacquiao fight, he delivers 5 years too late when both fighters are past their prime." But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The fact is, the fight didn't happen, and we didn't get to see Amir Khan fight Mayweather, which would have been a very good fight. Now, in my opinion, the Amir Khan that fought Devin Alexander, Luis Collazo, I think that might have been prime Khan, in the sense that it's not his biggest wins, but in terms of his performances, it was a very mature performance. It was very defensively responsible performance, especially for him with his negative chin. He needs to worry about stuff like defense more than offense, even though with his mentality of being very ego driven, he likes to focus on offense more than defense. So in my opinion, with all of that taken into account, I think it's fair to say that the Virgil Hunter trained Amir Khan, who was motivated. Like, for example, for the Devin Alexander fight, apparently he trained for that one fight for like 4 months before he even started the official training camp. So the guy was literally in the gym 24/7 training, and it showed in his performance. He gave an incredible performance against Devin Alexander, and Devin Alexander is a 2-time world champion who's beaten a lot of good names. So it was a very impressive performance, and he completely whitewashed him. I mean, it was very impressive, his combinations and how he overwhelmed him with his speed. It was a very good performance. But I think if that Amir Khan fought Mayweather, I think he would have given him problems, and it would have been a very fun fight. It would have been a fun spectacle to watch, because say what you like about Khan, right? And you can say about his dodgy chin, the fact that he can't stick to a game plan, the fact that sometimes he's got too much heart for his own good, and he leaves his chin out there hanging, and all this other stuff that we can say. The fact remains that for the first couple of rounds, unless he was fighting Breeders Prescott, or even when he fought Danny Garcia, the first 3-4 rounds, a lot of fighters struggle to deal with his speed and his reflexes, and how fast he is, and just generally his hand speed and his foot speed. It takes a while for them to adjust, and then when they adjust, that's when they start clipping him. But for that first 1 or 2, 3 rounds, he gives a rough go at all of his opponents. I mean, a lot of his opponents have said that the first round or two, it takes a lot for them to adjust to his hand speed, because it's just so overwhelming. The fact remains, right, with Amir Khan, the fact is that with his ridiculous hand speed, it's very difficult for you to adjust to that, because it's not something that you can replicate unless you're sparring the likes of Pacquiao on a regular basis, or very fast fighters like Gary Russell Jr. It's very difficult to replicate, especially with his reach as well and his size as well. He would have been towering over Mayweather, and he would have had a bit of a reach advantage as well. So yeah, with that taken all into account, I think he would have given Mayweather fits for the first couple of rounds. But then eventually Mayweather, with his superior ring IQ, his intellect, I mean, just a bit of everything, I think he would have figured him out eventually. The fact remains that Mayweather is like he's almost like a computer when it comes to boxing. He knows how to figure out opponents. So I think Mayweather would have eventually won the fight. Don't get it twisted. And he might have even hurt Khan, because Mayweather's got a bit of shocking power. I think there's different types of power. There's power where it's like completely concussive, where even when a punch hits you through the guard, you still get knocked out, right? Even if it hits you like on the guard, you still get hurt, right? Like a George Foreman. If a George Foreman hits you, the power literally goes through your body, and it literally goes to the end of your body, literally. But then you got power that's based more on speed. So like sometimes a fighter can shock you with how fast he is with his hand speed. But then you got power, which is kind of based on timing. So a fighter hits you when you're kind of off rhythm, or when you're moving and when you're not expecting it, and kind of catches you and it lands and it hurts you. Like, look at the way Mayweather dropped Marquez. I'm sure Marquez has been hit a lot harder than that in his career. But the reason why that punch dropped him was because of the timing of the shot. And I think Mayweather would eventually catch Amir Khan with a shot like that. He would just time him, catch him, hurt him, and then drop him or something like that. And I think eventually he would probably beat him. But I think it would have been a great spectacle. And I think if the Amir Khan that fought Devin Alexander or Luis Collazo showed up, then it would have been a very good fight. And he might have even won several rounds against him. Who knows? The way Zab Judah beat Mayweather, obviously Zab Judah's southpaw, so the angle's a bit different. But the fact remains, he won like 3-4 rounds and then he gassed out. But I think with Amir Khan, I think he would have won several rounds maybe, and then he probably would have been that would have been it. Eventually Mayweather would have adjusted and then he would have picked him off. But I think it would have been an interesting first 3 to 4 or 5 rounds. I think it would have been interesting at least. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Do you think Amir Khan could have beaten Mayweather? I don't know about that. I just don't think he would have done, because I don't think he's got the ring IQ to match a Mayweather. To beat a Mayweather, you need to catch him by surprise. Like, you got to do a move where you kind of catch him where he's not expecting it. Like, you got to outsmart him for a split moment and hit him with something. Like, the way Shane Mosley did when he rocked Mayweather. Like, I think he threw a left hook and then he came over the top and landed a right hand. And Mayweather didn't see it coming because it happened so quickly. And he kind of outsmarted him. He out-countered his counter. You got to do something like that to beat him. And I don't know if Amir Khan has the prerequisite ring IQ to do that. He may do, but it will be based on like Virgil Hunter giving a foolproof game plan that Amir Khan can follow for 12 rounds. And to be fair, he did do it against Devin Alexander. He did do it against Luis Collazo, but they're not on the caliber of a Mayweather. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Tell me your opinion. Who do you think would have won between a Mayweather and a Amir Khan? I think Mayweather would have eventually won, because he has fought fast fighters before, like the likes of for example, a Pacquiao, etc. But I think, I'll be honest, man, I think Amir Khan would have come with a different type of presence than Pacquiao. Pacquiao's what, 5'6"? Amir Khan is like 5'10"-ish, a bit. He towers over a lot of his opponents. So I think, and plus he's taller, got more of a reach. He's Olympic boxing pedigree, and he's fast as well, and he does have great boxing as well, like boxing technique skills. So I think he eventually might have beaten Mayweather, but it would have taken a lot to. I don't think he would have beaten Mayweather, but I think Mayweather would have struggled to adjust to his speed and his reach, and the first 3-4 rounds would be very difficult for Mayweather. But yeah, that's just my opinion on that. Tell me your opinion. Tell me who do you think would have won between them two if they both would have fought each other, especially during that time period when he fought Marcus Maidana instead of fighting Amir Khan. If he would have fought Amir Khan instead, who do you think would have won? I think Mayweather would have won, but I just think Amir Khan would have gave him problems. But to be fair, Marcus Maidana gave Mayweather loads of problems in their first fight. A lot of people thought Marcus Maidana won that fight, and this was with his MX gloves, the gloves that he wanted to use taken off him, his puncher's gloves. He had to use the pillows that Mayweather was wearing. So for him to have that level of success with the gloves that he's not even used to, imagine if he was able to use the puncher's gloves. I mean, a lot of them punches that were cushioned would have been more lethal. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Tell me your opinion, and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.